Thank you all for joining us. My name is Michael Best, product specialist for PCA, Pro Camera Accessories at Arri. I used to be a focus puller for 10 years, local 600 member, and then joined Arri in 2007 in customer service and kind of grown into this role, which has been kind of a natural progression for me. Which is great because I understand the on-set environment and things like that and the pressures camera assistants have. So I try to be a voice for camera assistants at Arri to not only share your feedback, but to just help make the best tools possible for you guys that are reliable and a great long-term investment. So feel free to take a screenshot right now because my mobile number and my email are up there, and it's important that we're in touch for those two main reasons. Feedback from you to know maybe what's working or what you'd like or what your wishes might be to make your job easier out in the field. All right, so let's move it along. We're going to be mostly focused on the Hi-5 ecosystem. At the heart of it is the Hi-5, but we also have the RIA, which is a radio interface adapter, along with these modular radios, and the Hi-5 works with now an app as well. So I'll just try to breeze through it, and then I have equipment with me, so if there's any other things people want to see, we can open it up for Q&A and be a little more free-flowing with it. So one thing we needed to make sure with the success for the WCU4, which is the intelligent hand unit version 5, is that it needed to go further in terms of signal strength. Need to be stronger hand unit in itself and faster in terms of speed on set. We need to provide various features and things within our system that speeds up your job and makes things easier and smoother on set. Let's see if I can get, oops, I was hoping to get a laser pointer. Oh well. I don't know if you could see my pointer, but there's a page button. And on the bottom here, there's a function button. These are the two keys to navigate the Hi-5. It is a touch screen and slider, force pad, and control knob, obviously, is focus, iris, zoom. And it has a built-in NATO rail ambient sensor, so it automatically dims or becomes brighter depending on the light source. And smart ring interface. There are these two little pogo pins on top of the where it says Arri on the knob, and those interface with these smart rings that we have. So this is more of a close-up of the NATO rail. So you have 3/8 and 1/4 20 mounting points, pretty easy, and M4 mounting points. So various typical standard interfaces in our business. Another thing that makes this system stronger is more power with the battery. Lasts up to 15 hours, or at the most up to 15 hours. And in the display on the Hi-5, you see a very accurate percentage of battery life. So versus an icon where you might see things in 1/4 of a batteries or half charged or whatever. This is more precise. So you could be more confident on set. If you're down to 10%, you could definitely get the shot. These are the smart rings that started shipping with the Hi-5. So they're the traditional righty rings in metric and in imperial. And we have 10 different flavors based on the close focus of the lens. And now we're coming out with smart focus ring in a reverse way. So close focus and infinity reverse. I didn't know it, but there are focus pullers out there that learned in this manner, because there might be lefty focus pullers and they learn with the right hand, but for whatever reason it's reversed, or there's other systems that do that and they learn that way. So we're just trying to keep all the possibilities open. And we're continuing that by making it available for lefties as well. So we need to orient the pre-marked or the smart rings certain way so that when you pop on the ring, it's great. It doesn't show it in the picture, but the screen flips automatically. So that's great. And furthermore, we just announced recently in the past couple of months, T-stop rings as well. And that's based on the widest iris opening, as well as the last one is for the closed position on lenses that might have that for broadcast. These are the 3 radios. We'll get into each one, but briefly, the white radio is our traditional radio that's built into all our cameras and motor controllers. And the 2 new radios are orange radio and the gray radio. They're both frequency hopping. The white and orange are on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. The 900 is on the 900 megahertz spectrum. Now, the difference between direct sequence spread spectrum, DSSS, and FHSS is frequency hopping. So let's go further down the line here and get more to the details. So this is the white radio, and these are all the devices and motor controllers and things it works with. So it's backwards compatible and forwards compatible with the Hi-5. And within this frequency, these are the channels and specific frequencies per each channel. And as you see with the boxes I have, channel 1 and 2 are relatively close to channel 9 and 10 in terms of frequency. So even though you think if you have interference on channel 2 and 3 and I'm going to get farther away from it and go to channel 9 or 10, well, if you look at the value of it, you're really not that far away. So in order to help you and make things a lot easier for you, we have a frequency analyzer built into our Hi-5 now. And the picture on the left compared to the picture on the right is just basically sorting the channels with the frequencies or just sorting the channels in numerical order. And what I did here is I have channel in the middle picture 5 highlighted. And when you highlight that, you can choose it with basically the zoom thumb button and hit select, and it'll take you right to that channel. So right in here in the frequency analyzer, you see it's free. So it's a fast and easy way to interpolate maybe any wireless and invisible challenges you have on set. So this makes it visible, and then you can select easily the free channel and do your job as expected. And so the other part so the NATO rail also accepts a monitor bracket for the Hi-5. A lot of people use this bracket and put a quick release on there, undersling it underneath typically a small HD monitor. Continuing with the tour around the Hi-5, on top is a USB-C interface, and that's used to install software updates and maybe exchange lens files or what have you, or you can export log files if something buggy is happening with the Hi-5. It helps to have that data for the engineers to maybe see or identify an issue and see how to fix it. So we recommend this Lexar card. It's a USB-C, USB-A on either side, and it fits right into that slot. That's very specific because That slot is kind of, I don't know if you could see me and my camera, but I have one put in there, and it's kind of a strain relief. So if you hit it on the side, it's not going to break in there. So some of those USB thumb drives don't fit in there, so just be mindful of that. And again, reach out to me if you need any of this information in the future. In addition to the USB-C port on top, here's another view. You can just put a computer cable in, and now you have AC power. Or you can plug in the other end in a power bank, and now you have backup power if need be. So on the bottom of the Hi-5 is a Bluetooth dongle that sits on the bottom there. Some people mistake it for a thumb drive. It's not, it's just a Bluetooth dongle. And it communicates with the Hi-5 ECS Sync app that currently only work on Apple devices. So trying to make it more universal for Android users as well. But the great thing about having an app communicating with the Hi-5 is that if you're day playing a lens on a shoot and the rental house sends out the lens, they might even have the lens file for you to use, and they can email it to you, they can text it to you, and you can kind of bring it into the app and into the Hi-5 itself. So we have 4 what do you call it, optional licenses. So the Hi-5 includes the Alexa remote license, so it communicates with all our cameras with the right motor controller and so on. But also Red has an open platform, so it's easy to communicate with Red cameras. Sony, we're working towards things, better solution, going through an Ethernet port on their camera. That'll probably unlock many more features and it'll be easier to use. Sorry about that. The most popular is the Cine-RT support focus bug license. It's important to note that this only works with the RIA, radio interface adapter. I don't know if you could see that, but we'll get into that later. And the Cinefade, which is the variable NDs from C-Motion, that'll be released pretty soon. So so a lot of development in that area and moving along. So this chart is available online, but I just want you to be aware of it, so you could have it as a reference to see all the functionalities that are available for each license. So there are 3 buttons on the back of the Hi-5. These are all programmable user buttons. Typically, they use it for slider markers, focus markers. All that means it's a haptic, it's a vibration that happens there for you to have another extra sensory cue if need be, for maybe a T-stop pull or a focus pull, what have you. Peaking exposure tool, that's pretty straightforward. Focus bug field of view. This is important because typically I think the field of view starts at 14 inches, then goes to, I'm sorry, 14 degrees, 24 degrees, and then 36 degrees. So the default is 14, wide is 24, and extra wide is 36. So sometimes you want to have more narrow field of view so you don't pick up any other objects that might throw off the distance measure. But other times you might want it wide because maybe someone comes in from the side or extreme side of the frame, and so you might want to pick them up. Cancel OCU1 is The OCU one is this little device here. Oops. Oh, this little device, wrong camera. I'm so sorry. It's like a round circular, like little focus knob, but it can work with any axis. And normally, or originally, it was meant to just sit on the camera, so the operator can take control from the camera assistant if need be during blocking or whenever the camera assistant needs to walk away from set. The operator won't have to disengage the motors. With a press of a button, the operator can take control over any axes. And this is only available wired, but cancel OCU override is really for the AC on the Hi-5. On the Hi-5, excuse me for not showing slides of this. That was one of the things I wanted to do, but on the Hi-5, say in the focus scale, it'll be red. So the AC will know that the operator has control, and by pressing this particular user button, you would regain control. So that's what that's about. Another great little feature a lot of people don't know about is the tail slate mode. If you hold the record button down for 3 seconds, it activates it, and now you're rolling the camera. And in order to cut the camera, you have to hold the button down another 3 seconds. So a lot of times there's just this muscle memory or reaction. When you hear cut, you might cut the camera before you could get that tail slate in. So this is one of those little features that will prevent that from happening. Manual T-stop. This is one example of where you might be working with just one motor. However, you still need, it's still great to have the depth of field information. So by mapping that axes, or maybe using one of our lens data archive files, you can gain that data for focus, and also specifically then dial in your T-stop. And then if you're on a zoom, you can also dial in your focal length. And then in the end there, you know, this is the before and after. So you see your values on the right side, on the bottom for the focal length and T-stop, and you get the depth of field within that focus scale. So if a motor goes down, or if budget doesn't allow it, or whatever, these are some workarounds. Hide focus, iris, and zoom scale. So this is essential for people who just want to clean up the screen and maybe just see exactly what they want to see. So these are just 3 different things that will minimize the amount of information on the Hi-5 screen. It's pretty straightforward. There's a page, if you look at the very bottom of the left slide or photo, I highlighted, it's like the second page. There are these little tabs at the very bottom that shows you there's 4 pages, and you access using the function button on the bottom. Predictive lens mapping. This is a new feature that came out in our SUP 2.0. This speeds up the mapping process by 25%. So in the beginning, it's kind of predicting every inch. So you don't have to alter the value. You just kind of have to turn the knob. And as you turn the knob, the value changes. And I'd say about 90% of the time, it's correct. And it's just a matter of turning the knob, making sure it's accurate on your lens, and then hitting the select. Or a trick is to hit the, I keep going the wrong camera, the number 3 button on the back. It's kind of indented, and that's kind of our enter button. So so you could use add on the bottom there, or the number 3 button. I'd like to introduce you to focus tracking toggle. This is a feature that's brought in using the focus bug license. So when you have lens data and a focus bug, or maybe our UDM, ultrasonic distance measure, a couple of things can happen here. So on the first slide, basically what I'm doing is I'm on the 4th page of the Hi-5, and I decided I want to use focus toggle function. So if I hit the function button and the user button I want to assign to that on the Hi-5, it brings me to this page where I can select the different features within the Hi-5, camera or distance or cinefade. So I chose distance, and I also chose the focus tracking toggle, and I named it focus as an example. So on the 3rd slide, you see focus next to UB5 and UB6. So normally you see UB, user button 5 or user button 6, and there's 3 more on the bottom there. So we have a total of 9. The 3 on the back of the Hi-5 and this 4th user button page. So it's a customizable page for you to set any button to function the way you would need. So if anyone wants to go into more detail on that, you can feel free to give me a call afterwards. Happy to walk through it in more detail. But I guess the point of this presentation is really just to introduce you to some of the features and functionalities that you might not be aware of. And now this is another example of where I chose the distance measure, aka focus bug, and I'm assigning user button number 5 to crossover mode. We have the horns on the focus bug, but we also have bugs where you can put on the actor. And at a certain point, you can decide maybe at 15, 12, or 10 feet, whatever makes sense, that the distance measuring crosses over from the bug to the horns. Usually it's some practical reason on set for that. Maybe it's just more accurate to switch over for whatever reason. Sometimes the bugs have to be hidden in the pants, and then now it's measuring up to the horns rather than straight to the face. So there's a bit of a difference in distance. So it's mindful to use this function for that, wherever the distance measure is going to be most accurate. These are fun little features, knob colors that you can change in the Hi-5. This is great when you're color coding different camera systems on multiple camera shoots. In addition, you can either choose your own color if you want to always stay like that, or there's something called tally status. So on the left is showing blue because there's no media in the camera, but if it is green, then you know media is in the camera, and red is record. So it's very straightforward, but one of these things, it's just kind of a visual cue on set. Make sure that you don't want to start a shot without any media in the camera. So that'll help with there. And so far so good with the Hi-5. It's a great little device. People are very happy with it, but there's always more to improve. So there'll be more to come this year with regards to updates and things. Moving on to our next main product of this whole ecosystem, which is just as important as the Hi-5, which is the RIA, radio interface adapter. So there's this little right angle bracket. It's just a small little thing, so it's lightweight, but it's 3/8, so it's a very strong connection, and you can mount it to the side of the camera as such here. And in addition, all these radios are hot swappable. So for example, if you're need a little bit more range, we have the other frequency hopping radios, and the long antenna is the 900. So that's great punching through ceilings and walls and buildings. Has quite a long range if you're doing a 360 shot in a space. Alternatively, if you're doing some stunt work or follow vehicle for cars and stuff and you need more range, this is another great solution. Alternatively, we have the orange radio, which is frequency hopping as well. And the limitation to this is that only one handset can communicate to one of these radios. So you can't have, say, a Hi-5 communicating with this on the camera, plus maybe an SXU or a WCU or anything else. It doesn't have a network mode. It's called point-to-point. Whereas the white radio and the long 900 radio is network. So basically, so the RIA shares all these 4 radios. So 3 great options for you to use in different situations. But not only that, but it's a motor controller. So it's a motor controller when it's on the camera, whether it's a Sony, a Canon, Panasonic, or our Amira that doesn't have a motor controller built in. And it has the L-Cube, serial port built in here for your focus bug. And incidentally, the focus bug license is only compatible with the RIA at this point. So there'll be a firmware update for the L-Cube, hopefully by the end of this year, which I think it'll be. So then that'll expand the focus bug license features as well as in the Alexa 35. But for now, the focus bug license is only compatible with the RIA. So I just want to emphasize that. So in addition to being a motor controller on the camera, it can also be a transmitter. So in this circumstance, I have this company called Arma made this bracketry, this little cheese plate that the RIA sits in, and I can pop off the protective plate. I keep going to the wrong camera, I'm so sorry. And popping in the radio in here, and if I grab a little power through L bus and D tap, I can then power the OCU1 to control iris, say for a DIT. So now DIT can see the value in the screen and also have the ability to maybe change over to a longer range radio if need be. So this little device is great to have in your kit because it works with almost every camera out there, and extends the wireless functionality. So it's weatherproof, it's rugged, and various mounting options. So in this example, I have a rod mounting bracket underneath, mounted to the side of the Alexa Mini LF with that 19mm adapter on there, and just mounted it off to the side there. So it's a little more lower profile than putting it on the handle, for example. It's a very straightforward device. You have 2 L bus connectors where you can kind of daisy chain through. a cam connector, which is critical for tally start stopping the camera, but also camera control. Serial connector is for any distance measures, ultrasonic distance measure and stuff. The USB-C connector on there for software updates, and the mounting points on the bottom is there. So with all this said, there are a few helpful references. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you to the configurations for all the cabling and things you will need based on your setup. So it's just kind of an easy reference depending on how you're going to be working. So this is a very straightforward example of where the Hi-5 is maybe bypassing the internal radio on the Alexa 35 as typical today, because once again, that feature to have the focus bug license only available in the RIA right now, not the Alexa 35. So people are working in this fashion to kind of work around that till we get up to speed on that camera firmware. So just a very straightforward, easy reference. And here's another example of where you're using another radio, the frequency hopping radio. And one important point to note here is that we're coming out of EXT to CAM for communication for the Hi-5 to change any camera settings. But what's important to note here is this other asterisk down here is that this is a signature prime, but if you're using any other lens that you would have to map, you actually have to close the loop here, go to L bus into L bus, and that actually brings the lens data into the camera, so it could be recorded in the camera's metadata. That's a little important tip there. So once again, if you have any troubles, just reach out. So here's an example of where a RIA was set up with the OCU1 on the bottom there in that photo. So you could program one of those buttons to turn on and off false color for the DIT, change camera radios as we discussed, attached to the side of the monitor. So it's a very elegant, slick way of working. And you get T-stops in 1/10 of a stop on the OCU1. So it's very accurate. And in addition, we've created another configuration for this particular setup. That's still in the QR code. And then a more advanced setup is when you can combine radios. So in this case, the Hi-5 is speaking to the internal radio, white radio, and maybe the DIT is a lot farther away. So that person will communicate with the frequency hopping radio. Just one important point, even though the frequency hopping radio and the white radio are still 2.4 gigahertz, you do get a little bit more range from the orange radio. Just because of the nature of, I guess, the frequency hopping. By the way, frequency hopping, it jumps through 100 different channels multiple times a second, and wherever there's no interference, it'll send and receive information. So it's very quick and responsive. Here's another reference on our website. These are the 3 different radios, what they're called, their transmitting power, all this kind of tech specs, but also the operating mode. If you look at that, you see which one is network and which one's point-to-point. So, yeah, here's one of our field testers, Jim McLean. Since he's over in Europe, he usually gets his hands on the toys first. And so, yeah, sometimes he's pretty happy about the advancements we make, because he's constantly giving us some feedback, and I guess we made his day and implemented something that he was looking for. So this is the OCU1 as it comes as a set, just for you to get a photo of that. Also, I was starting a whole bunch of slides to show the process between handing off or taking control over an access using this, but unfortunately I didn't have enough time for this presentation, so sorry about that. Another resource that is incredibly important and you should all be aware of, and it goes into a deeper dive, are our Arri Tech Talks, particularly on the Arri channel on YouTube. They're really well done. Recently, we had another one done on the LMB 4x5, our map box that works in so many different ways, but also on the RIA, on Laird from FocusBug, and Tobias, our product manager for ECS for these products. They did one together showing some of the FocusBug features and demonstrating them. So I urge you to check that out, subscribe, so you can get notice of our updates. Lastly is the ZMU4. This is our Zoom main unit. I have it here, and it takes a battery underneath. It accepts all the radio modules, so it behaves just like a Preston Microforce or a previous ZMU3A, but with some few more features. So feature number one is the same radios we're using with the RIA and the Hi-5. They interface with this as well. There's L-bus and CAM connector on top, so two different interfaces to be wired to cameras, whether it's Arri or third-party cameras. Lastly, on the back are 3 user buttons, and also plus and minus is dedicated for your zoom speeds. So you can change some of these user buttons to like zoom zap, or if you want to create a limit on the zoom, you can, and put a marker. A marker is something that, as you would imagine, is just a marker on the screen that shows you how close you're getting to the range or area where you want to zoom to. But still, you don't want to be locked into a particular range like limits do. You just want to get a sense of when you're coming close to that mark, and then you have some breadth to continue moving. These are some of the new bracketry that's available for the ZMU4. It comes in the kit. There's a rosette on both sides. And then I'll show you a few photos of the other pieces. So the RA8 is on the left side. So basically that interfaces with the rosette on the ZMU4, and 3 ACE on the side of the OCU1. And there's a good photo of the T-stop there. On the right side is like rosette to rosette, and I actually have it right here. So this is like the little zoom panhandle, and then it goes to rosette. So it just slips over the panhandle, and then that ties in the ZMU4 to that. It's pretty straightforward. So there's the panhandles, but sometimes you have irregular diameters of things, and that's when you can use the hand grip, pan bar, clamp, universal. So now we have a new device, and there's more sample setups, and we categorize it into really different camera categories. So in this example, it's the Alexa 35, and you see it both hardwired and wireless, and the last one is expanding with the OCU1 attached to the ZMU 4. Has plenty of power, uses the same batteries as the Hi-5. Yeah, so it'll power both the OC1 and the ZMU, no problem. And just to show you here, so here's another example with third-party cameras and how you could think about the devices you need to do to set it up, and also the cables, the appropriate cable for the appropriate camera. Each camera has different interface. Also letting people know about extended calibration. Here's a situation where I should turn off the audio. These are macro lenses. So we have the Arri master macro on the left, but the video I'm taking is a super speed that a pin or something, the locking pin internally was taken out, so you can continue rotating the barrel and get closer. It's a little trick with super speeds if you don't know about it. This is I was lucky enough to be welcomed by Beverly Hills Aerials at the Kentucky Derby this year. They're really interested in the 900 radios because of the range. The range is 1 kilometer line of sight, but as most of you may know, depending on the weather or atmosphere, whether it's like really humid or really cold, or maybe just a perfect day, that can sometimes affect range, and like fog can affect range as well. So in addition to that, there's a lot of other interference happening. So the Kentucky Derby is a live event, many wireless signals all over the place within the stadium, and the 900 radio did very well. It covered the whole range of where we flew the drone. So it was a very successful test. And yeah, so this is a little video we were recording at the end of the day. Just the sprinklers, and so we're just doing some test flights and checking things out. And so one thing I noticed there is that I only had 1 bar, which is somewhat kind of it's normal behavior, but we never lost signal. So as you can see, I was just trying to document the situation as well as I can. So that's that. Just want to thank everyone coming out, spending your time for this section of Filmscape. Thank you.